that God reigns in us. In everything that we do, in every place we go, word we say, action that we have, that God reigns in us. So last week, we looked at the benefits of belonging to a church. So as we are a group of body, we're a group of people that make a body, and Paul uses this analogy of Christians being a body. There are many parts, but they make one body. And so your body is made of toes and fingers, arms and elbows and hair, and all of those go together to form your body. Each person here comes together, and we make the body of Christ that meets at North Garland. And so we talked about some of the benefits of it. The benefits that I mentioned is that we benefit from each other's talents. And so you guys have talents that I don't have. I have talents that you don't have. Terry has a talent that Corey doesn't. Corey has a talent that Judy doesn't. But together, we all benefit from each other's talents. Another benefit is that there's safety in numbers. And so we look out for one another. When one of us struggles, we lend a helping hand. How can we help you up? How can we encourage you? How can we lift you up? How can we help you get through this difficult time? And so some of us have been through difficult times, and we were surrounded by people that helped us through those. Another benefit is that we receive support from one another. So when we stumble, we need a helping hand. There's a helping hand. And we can lift one another up. This week we're going to talk about not the benefits that we receive, but the obligations we have. So in every relationship, there's a give and a take. There's a push and a they have to go together. That is what makes a relationship go together. It's a both and. So we have benefits, but there are obligations. I think I mentioned at the end of the last sermon that I might step on some toes this week, because everybody likes to receive things. You like to get things. You like to unwrap presents. You like Christmas. We like to get free things. And so we sign up for that free, to maybe have our name drawn out of a hat and win, a cooker or whatever it is. We like to receive things. Oh, but giving, let me check my calendar a little bit. Let me see what I have to give, what it will cost me. So today we're looking at the costs. And unfortunately, we live in a very me-centric society. So listen to some of these slogans that we have. Get it your way. You deserve it. Be all you can be, because you're worth it. All of those have a very me-centric, I am entitled to something. I am worth it, aren't I? I do deserve this. I think I'll swipe it on my card and I'll get it for myself, because I'm worth it. Unfortunately, that worms itself into the church as well. And so we begin to have a very me-centric view of church. What can I get out of this? What do I need? And we start doing that, all of a sudden, those obligations that we have, the obligations, I have to think of you. What do you need? But when I'm thinking of me, then I forget you. That's right. So, as followers of God, we have signed on to be followers. One of the very first things that followers do is followers gather together in groups. We call those groups churches. Let's read from 1 Corinthians chapter 12 again. We read this last week, but let's read it again. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, starting in verse 12. We'll read verses 12 through 20. Just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free. We were all given the one Spirit to drink, even so the body is not made up of one part, but many. Now, if the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. And if they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. All right, so the obligations that we have, obligations from being a part of the body. What do I owe you? What do you owe me? What do we owe each other? These obligations to say, I am a part of this. The first obligation is to have concern for one another. I need to be concerned for you. You need to be concerned for me. We should want what is best for one another. If you look at verse 24, it says, but God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. Equal concern. We need to take care of each other. So my family went to the dentist this last week. And for my family to go to the dentist, it's like a 3-hour obligation. It's like 3, 3:15, 3:45, 4, 4:30, 4:15. It just kind of works its way down the list. We take shifts. We go in groups of 2 or 3, and then when some are done, we go back. You know that feeling. When you look at the calendar and you see your dentist appointment coming up. You go, oh no. Let me brush my teeth real good before I go. That way the dentist will know that I take care of my teeth. As if brushing your teeth once before you go will fool the dentist. Oh, look, I can tell you brush your teeth right before you came. Or even worse, when it's like right after lunch and you're out and about and you don't have time to brush your teeth, you're like, my bad, I'm sorry. You can tell that I had Arby's for lunch. I know you can tell. But you have teeth. Can your teeth brush themselves? Absolutely not. What do your teeth need to brush them? Your hands. They need your hands to sit there and take that little bristle brush and move it around. And do it in little swirls here and there. Rinse your mouth, because your teeth cannot take care of themselves. They need the hands. Your stomach or your throat needs your teeth. You need your teeth to chew up the food. Because if your teeth don't do the job and you start swallowing giant chunks of food, what's going to happen? You're going to start choking. For the very first time in my life, I really started choking about 2 months ago, I think it was. I had some Panda Express and I was in a hurry and I started going, and all of a sudden it was like, there was nothing. I couldn't talk. I couldn't breathe. And it freaked me out. Luckily, it didn't last long. It came up. But my throat needs my teeth to do a little bit more chewing. And I can tell you, I have spent a little bit more time chewing recently since that moment. But my hands need to take care of my teeth. My teeth need to take care of my throat. You and I have obligations. We need to take care of one another. Sometimes we can do an okay job by ourselves for a time. But then we need each other to look after us. And that's what being a part of the body does. I want you to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 11. So turn one chapter back. 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Paul writes to the church about how they are taking communion. So we just gathered around the table, we call it, and we just participated in communion. And so we took a little cracker, we ate it. Hopefully you chewed it up. I'm not sure you could choke on that thing, it's so small. We had some drink. We drank it to remember the body of Christ. But the Corinthian church was messing things up a little bit. They were not thinking of one another. So look at 1 Corinthians chapter 11, starting at verse 21. Paul criticizes them. He says, "For when you are eating, some of you go ahead with your own private suppers. As a result, one person remains hungry and another gets drunk. Don't you have homes to eat or drink in? Or do you despise the church of God by humiliating those who have nothing? What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you? Certainly not in this matter." So the scenario in the first century was a little bit different than we have it now. They actually had a whole meal together. That's how they would participate in this communion together. They would commune together. So maybe think more of like a potluck. And so what he's saying is that some of the people were going ahead and they were filling their plates full. They were thinking of themselves. Whoa, look at that. That looks delicious. I'm going to take a whole bunch of this right here. I'm going to get a bunch of that. And then when everybody would go through like that, what would happen to the people at the back? They don't get it. They got to scrape the little things here left on the, the little burnt crisps that are left around the edge of the lasagna or whatnot. They got to scrape. Because some people were thinking only about themselves. They also happened to use wine. And so when you had some people getting too much wine, they got drunk. And so Paul's like, what are you doing? I don't have anything good to say to you about this. You're just thinking of yourselves and others are getting left behind. If you're hungry, then when you're at home, get a little snack before you go to church. And when you get there, then you're satisfied and everybody can be full. And so when you're at the front of the line, do this. Be like, oh, I got some here. There's a lot of people here. I'm just going to take a little bit here. And do it in that way, I'm thinking of the whole group. So the first obligation that we have is to lift our eyes up, take it off of ourselves, and be concerned for each other. Second obligation that we have is surrendering, or the unfriendly word, submitting. Second obligation that we have, being a part of a body, is that we submit to the body. When an individual signs on to be a part of a group, there is an expectation that that person will submit to the standards of that group. And so when someone signs up to be a member at a local gym, you understand that there are certain hours of operation. You understand that there are certain rules that you have to abide by. And so when I go to the YMCA, I'm supposed to wear a shirt. Playing basketball, we play skins and shirts. And sometimes I forget, and I walk upstairs, and Tammy, the lady at the front desk, let me tell you, I did it once. She reminded me of my obligation to the standards that I signed. Oh, I'm sorry, I put that back on. When a couple buys a house, maybe you live in a homeowners association, you sign up, you will keep your lawn mowed. You will make sure that the sound coming out of your house stays down. Those are obligations that you signed on for. And if you don't, they'll let you know about it. A student applies to a university. There are certain academic standards. There are certain standards of behavior. When you signed on, you said, I will fulfill my obligations. And guess what happens if you don't? The university says, see ya. Goodbye. You can come back when you will keep your obligations. But until then, you are no longer a part of the group. And so when an individual signs on to be a part of the church, you're signing on to this obligation. It's that I will submit to what the body is saying, to what the body is doing. I will choose to abide by these obligations. I want to read from 1 Peter chapter 5. 1 Peter chapter 5, Peter the apostle is writing to believers. And he says this, starting in verse 1, he says, "To the elders among you, I appeal to you as a fellow elder and a witness of Christ's sufferings, who also will share in the glory to be revealed. Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them. Not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And the chief shepherd, and when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away." If I could have our elders who are here today stand up. So we've got 6 of them, so go ahead, stand up, gentlemen. We got 4. I think Terry is here somewhere. Oh, there's Terry right there. Who are we missing? There's John. Pat's not here today. Church, we have designated these guys to be our shepherds. It is our choosing to submit to them. Go ahead. Have a seat, guys. Thank you. We are saying we look to you as our leaders. And I will place myself under your leadership. Now, do our elders do everything perfect? No. And I guarantee they will be the first to tell you that they've made mistakes. They know that. But they are... Wait, that wasn't a whisper, John. We are placing ourselves under them. We are saying, you are leaders, we will follow you. Would I do something different than them sometimes? Absolutely. Would you do something different than them sometimes? Absolutely. But I've said I'm going to be a part of this body. So where they lead, I follow. Now, for those of you who are younger, if you consider yourself younger, stand up. There we go. Come on, stand up, stand up. If you consider yourselves younger, there you go. Come on. There you go. Listen to this. In the same way, you who are younger, submit yourselves to your elders. Oh, there we go. All right, have a seat. So elders can be used 2 ways. It can be the official office. So the gentleman who I had stand first, that's the title of elders. But it can also mean elder as in age. And so maybe you consider yourself elder, or maybe you consider yourself younger. Submit yourselves. It means follow. Follow the lead of those who are going before you. Follow the lead of your group. We are all following God together. Do we agree 100% of the time? No. No. Do we agree 70% of the time? Yeah, probably not. There is not a single time that all of us would agree. But because we are doing something, then I will do it as well. Because we do something, I also do it. Because I'm a part of the group. I'm not a part of North Garland when I want to be. And another day it's like, I don't want to be a part of this group. I have signed on to be a part of this body. You have signed on to be a part of this body. And so we submit to the group. When you talk about the individualism moving its way into church, I've talked to many people who kind of pick and choose, and they do church cafeteria style. Well, I really like the preaching at this church, and so I go there on Sunday morning. Or I really like the small groups at that church, and so I go there on Wednesdays. I tell you, the Vacation Bible School, that one's awesome. And then I'm going to go, And on one hand, we could look at that and go, well, you know what? That's good. It's cooperation. We're getting things, different groups are getting together, and that is wonderful. That is. But too often, what I see is people thinking of the I. I like the sermon at this church. I like the small group there. I care about me and myself. That is what ends up driving those things. I like what our church does in this scenario, and so I participate. But I don't like what our church does in that scenario, and so I will see myself out. When I think of myself, I don't think about you. Okay? It's an obligation. When we're a body, we're doing things together. If this foot wants to walk that way, and this foot wants to walk that way, what's going to happen to Eric? Eric's going to fall down. It's going to be hurt and painful because I don't have that kind of flexibility. So if my feet don't get along, which happens occasionally, one of them or maybe the eyes don't see something, it hurts. And so when one part of the body starts saying, I'm going to do my own thing, it hurts the other part of the body. Well, I didn't mean to. I know you didn't mean to, lefty. But that pulled muscle sure hurts. And that's what happens when we fail to keep up with our obligations. Obligation number 3 is to contribute. We are not simply observers. We don't simply sit back and watch. I guess unless you're the eye. If you're the eye, then your job is to watch, but then inform the rest of your body what it sees. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4, the author uses this analogy of a cord of 3 strands, or a rope that's made of 3 strands. The idea, he says, that a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken because you have 3 working together. One of them couldn't do it, 2 of them couldn't do it, but 3 can. And what's interesting is that the 3 are stronger than just the 1. So if you have a task to do, and it would take one person an hour to do it, if you have 2 people, math would say twice the number of people, you get it done in half the amount of time, so it'd be 30 minutes, but it doesn't work that way. You can get it done in 15 to 20 minutes because the 2 can do something great. Unless you have a talker. And then you're like, well, maybe, I don't know, but it's more enjoyable that way. When you have a group getting things done together, the group is stronger than the individual. And so we have an obligation to contribute. I want to read from Acts chapter 2. Listen to the church contributing to one another. Acts chapter 2, verse 42, it says, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. Now here we go. Listen to this. Verse 44. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to the number daily those who were being saved. You see that working and getting together? I'm going to sell property so that I can take care of my brothers and sisters. We're going to meet together in people's homes. We're going to break bread together. Somebody's got to make that bread. and we share it together, and it builds this camaraderie. But for that to happen, you got to have contributors. You have to have somebody saying, my house, Sunday, 6 o'clock, my house. You can come to my house. I'm going to share that. I'll make the bread. I'll bring it. Nice, fresh bread. I'm going to come. I'm going to bring my neighbors. And we all come together and we contribute. It takes a little bit from every one of us to make something big happen. And when that happens, the synergy grows. It just builds. It builds excitement because people want to be a part of it. But it takes giving. What am I going to bring to the table? Can you imagine the disappointment? We've got a potluck this afternoon. Come on, enjoy us. It's all ready. It's over for us next door. We're going to say a prayer. God, thank you for this food. Amen. We go over there, and you go over there, and there's no food. No food. Because nobody chose to contribute. Well, that's disappointing. But let's see you later. So we have an obligation to contribute. And when all is going well, it goes well. But sometimes people don't contribute. I'm going to do a little demonstration. So let's see. Houston and Michael, come on up front. So there is this challenge you can do. Two people. You guys are about the same height, so come on right over here. I want you to face each other. Put your arms up like this, hands up. There we go. All right, there. Houston, are you leaning on Michael? Michael, are you leaning on Houston? No. And you're standing up just perfect, right? Now I want you to both take a step back. Okay? Are you leaning on Houston? Kind of, no, not really. Are you leaning on him? No? All right, on the count of 3, I want you to take your hands apart. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you didn't fall. Okay? That means you're not leaning on one another. Put your hands back together. Now I want you both take half a step back. I see your fingertips touching, but your palms are not touching anymore. Why are your palms not touching? You're a bit far apart, okay? The rule is your hands are touching, palms included. Good, okay. Now take another half step back. Palms touching, guys. How you feeling, Houston? All right, take another half a step back. Okay, are you guys leaning on each other now? Okay, it's going to get difficult. You have to trust each other, okay? Houston, you're kind of doing this number. It means you don't trust them. Try keeping your body straight, okay? I want you to take another half step back. Keep going. Oh, okay, all right, come forward. All right, good job. Round of applause. So here's the deal. Both of them are about the same height. If they trusted one another fully, they could have gone another probably 4 feet. But they would have had to have been rigid, straight, but really trust one another. Because if one doesn't trust, this is the I don't trust you look. I am leaning. No, you're not leaning. And what will happen is if one trusts and leans, but the other is not trusting, they'll fall. Further, you can get about this far off the ground, but you have to trust one another. What happens, though, is that in church, we don't. And so one person says, you know what? I'm not going to contribute. I'm not going to fulfill my obligation. I'm going to withdraw my support. And when that happens, things start to fall, things start to crumble. And people's feelings get hurt. Now here's where we start. I will give you tangible examples from what I've seen happen. A lot of times, people's feelings will get hurt around graduation time, when there's a graduate in the family who doesn't get recognized as others have been, or a new baby is born, or somebody goes to the hospital. Well, no one visited me. No one brought me food. Why didn't somebody throw us a shower? Those people got a shower, but I didn't get one. The church doesn't care for me. They don't love me. The right answer is maybe the church doesn't know you because you have withdrawn your interaction. Because people will often sit on the outside of church. They want the benefits, but they don't want to give. I want to take. I want to benefit from other people's talents. I want to benefit from other people's strengths, but I'm not going to contribute. It doesn't work that way. There has got to be equal support. That's how relationships works. I give, you take, you give, I take. And we come to know each other. We come to care for one another that way. And so for those who are great givers, they give, they interact, they work. We know them. We know your face. We know you. We care for you. But when somebody sits on the outside and says, I'm not going to participate, I will not be there very often, I'm not giving, I'm not fulfilling my obligations, the church will not know that person. It's just a reality. Well, the church should. Maybe. We do our best. But if a person is not going to make themselves a part, they're going to miss out. It's just the nature